Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Keely Ogden, I'm a writer, and I am the Vampire Girl. Now I know when you didn't see a video go up last week, you might have thought that I was dead. No, it's only finals week. So I want to be dead, but I'm not yet, which I'm kind of salty about. But it's fine, we're moving on. Instead of taking a long drop and a sudden stop, I wanted to talk to you about one of the books that I just finished reading. This book is honestly so interesting and so unique, I'm really excited to talk about it. So I'm gonna stop blabbering and just get into the review. Field of Blood was published in 2008, and it was written by Eric Wilson. It is the first in the Jerusalem's Undead trilogy, which also includes Haunt of Jackals and Valley of Bones. This book references both the Bible and the Talmud, which creates a rich and interesting world that these characters travel through. Still, like everything, this book has its flaws, and we'll get into those a little later. If you are new to how my videos are set up, this is how it's going to go down. I will give you a brief spoiler-free summary of the book, as well as a smattering of my thoughts, and then I will give any content warnings for this book, a rating out of 5, and say whether or not I will continue to follow the series or the author. Instead of giving a beat-by-beat summary like I do with my movie reviews, I'll instead give you some highs and lows of the plot and characters. And that section will include spoilers, so be prepared for that. Also, hello. Mostly white American here, so I'm going to be mispronouncing some things. This is my apology in advance. After betraying Christ, Judas Iscariot hung himself in a place known as the Akeldama, or Field of Blood. Title card! In this world, collectors are bodiless spirits that feed, infect, and influence the lives of men. They also wish to disrupt the work of the Concealed Ones, or the Nistarim. There are 36 Nistarim who take on the burdens of the world and try to keep back final vengeance. If one of the Nistarim are killed, another must rise to fill its place, or else the world will devolve into chaos, and basically the bad guys win. After an ancient tomb in the Akeldama is opened, a group of collectors get a chance at some prime hosts, corpses touched by the blood of Judas himself. They become the undead, vampires touched by the blood of the men of Kerioth. With these new and powerful hosts, the Akeldama collectors have an even greater chance of finding the Nistarim and disrupting the balance, letting evil finally win. In Romania, a 12-year-old girl named Gina wakes up with a strange mark on her forehead, one that nobody else seems to be able to see. Unbeknownst to her, this mark is more than a scar. It's a target. Field of Blood weaves a really interesting story. I've never come across something quite like this before. The book is split into dual perspective, so half of the book follows Gina, and half of the book follows the Akeldama collectors. This does come with a couple of drawbacks, because there were times where I was trudging through one perspective to get back to the other, and vice versa. There were times when I'd leave off at a cliffhanger in this perspective, so I just wanted to get back to it and see how it was going to fix itself. But anytime you have multiple perspectives in a book, that's going to be something that you run into. There were also aspects of the lore that I found a bit confusing, but maybe I'm just not as familiar with the Bible, and especially the Talmud, as other people would be, so what was confusing to me may not be confusing to other people. It was all eventually explained, but there were times where I was thinking to myself, is this common knowledge? Am I just not reading my Bible enough? But don't let any of that worry keep you from reading this book, because it's actually a really interesting book. There were also some really great characters in this book, as well as some mediocre to annoying characters, but we'll get into that in the spoilery section. But overall, I really like the characters in this book. If you are squeamish around blood, then this might not be the book for you, but it's a vampire book, so if you go in expecting no blood, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. My one caveat is that there is a scene about 3/4 of the way through the book where there is a bombing and there are casualties. It's a very short scene, but it made me feel a little, some of the details were unnecessary, but it's a very short scene. I just wanted to give that little caveat before anybody jumps into this book. Like I said, it's a very short scene, but I think it bears mentioning. I won't give too much more explanation, because if you read the book and you get to that part, you'll know who's going to be the casualties. and I feel like even that's a little touching into spoilers for me, but like I said, you deserve to know what you're getting into. Overall, for the characters and the world building, I give this book a 4 out of 5. I know I said it gave me a little shaky, and there are definitely some flaws in this book that we'll get to in the spoiler section. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's the first book that I really powered through and read in a short amount of time because it was that good. So, overall, Field of Blood by Eric Wilson gets a score of 4 out of 5. As for if I will continue to follow the series or the author's work, I'd have to say yes. I will be finishing this series eventually, probably not right away, but I do really like the world that Eric Wilson has built, so I do want to see it through at least one more book, and then we'll see. We'll see where they're going. Alright, spoiler-free people, it is your time to leave the video. Go pick you up a copy of Field of Blood. It's actually really good. You can get it on Amazon. I'm pretty sure Eric Wilson has a website, and if he does, I will link it below. So definitely check out Field of Blood. Okay, if you're sticking around, that means you want to hear a little bit more spicy details about this book. Let's get into it. Like I said, I won't be doing a beat-by-beat analysis like I usually do for my movie reviews, but I just want to talk about some of the plot and character elements that I found really, really cool. Let's start with plot. I love the idea of collectors. These bodiless spirits that can inhabit any living host. It could be as small as a tick, it could be a living person. They can inhabit these bodies and influence the person or being's actions. However, they're not totally in control of their host. Oftentimes they find themselves struggling between what they want and their host's power of free will. This also extends to the Akeldama cluster. They inhabit corpses that have been dead for thousands and thousands of years, but once reanimated, those memories of the hosts still remain. So they begin to restructure the hierarchy of their cluster based on the hierarchy of these corpses that they had when they were alive. So husband and wife relationships are rekindled, parent-child, master-servant, allies. It's really, really fascinating because these collectors, their only goal is to disrupt the Nistarim, find and kill them, and bring about final vengeance so that the master collector can finally put his plan into place. But with the hosts and their memories mingling in, it blinds some of the cluster members to their final goal, and they become more content in just being alive. Collectors have no sense of taste, smell, anything. They don't have any of the human senses that we have. So some of them become complacent, just being able to see and hear and taste again. Eric Wilson has created a really interesting dynamic with these collectors, and I absolutely eat it up. He also plays on the old adage that a root of malcontent, of evil, a root of sin will spread like thorny vines and infect people around you. And we see that in a very literal, very visceral way. The collectors literally plant thorny vines inside the bodies of the people that they infect. They bite you, and they plant that seed of ick, of evil. And the longer that it is dormant and the less that you are able to move away from that evil, the stronger the vine gets. And then they just rip it out of you, break off one of the thorns that are full of blood, suck that thing down, and then just the vine back into your body. And doing this, the collectors can feed from the same person forever, as long as they don't get greedy and take too much of their blood, because you lose too much blood, you die. It's just a really interesting, really scary, icky, visceral way of showing how evil can take root in a person and other people will feed off of that. I really like this plot device. I think it's so cool. Also, it explains the vines of thorns on the cover. Y'all know characters are my favorite part of any piece of media, any story. I love me some characters, and we've got some really interesting ones in this book. Gina is our main protagonist. Now, we start off with Gina when she's 12, which I love. I love when kids have to be thrifty and they have to fight these extraneous powers, and they have to do so with their kid minds. I love thrifty kids. So when I saw that our protagonist was so young, I was like, cool, she's gonna get to be really cool and really smart. And then we have a time skip and she's an adult. And honestly, I was kind of mixed on this because I was like, we don't get to see Gina be a cool, independent child. Why? Rude. But the kind of peril that she is put in the book, it makes sense to age her up. You can't put a child in that kind of peril. And we get another thrifty kid towards the end of the book, which satisfied my love of that trope, so I'm happy. Gina actually is a really great character as an adult. We see how strong she has become. She gets out of a bad situation, and she uses her trauma to help others, and that makes her so strong. She takes the stuff that has beaten her down, and she turns it into a tool to help her grow. So I love Gina for that. She's great. In regards to our antagonists, the primary one, for the first part of the book anyway, is Lord Ariston. He is a collector who has taken the body of an old nobleman from Apamea. I was a little bit worried that Ariston was going to be our primary antagonist for the entire book and even the entire series. And it's nothing against him. He's a really interesting character. He's very smart, but as time passes, he begins to get a little complacent. He really likes the modern world. He's very patient. He's willing to wait, basically, for one of the Nistrim to fall into his lap, that he can just kill him right there. That was super easy. Final vengeance time. So I didn't really like that, and like I said, I was worried he was going to be our primary antagonist for the entire book. And then we get Irada. Irada is another one of the Akaldama collectors, and she is the daughter of Lord Ariston. She is the daughter of Lord Ariston's ally. And I'm putting these in quotes because the collectors themselves have no relationships to each other, but again, they're rebuilding those relationships that their hosts had when they were alive. So Irada is the daughter of the House of Eros, who is aligned with the House of Ariston. Irada is one of the collectors who is so clever, and she's so ready. She's so ready to usher in final vengeance. So she's willing to take charge. She takes the lead. She's not willing to wait around to be ordered around by Ariston or even her father. She is incredible. I love Irada. She's clever, she's independent, and she is a formidable opponent. And then we get Megiste, and she is like Irada on steroids. I adore Megiste. Like Irada, she's very clever and very independent, but she also has the wherewithal to take charge of the cluster. She is so done taking orders from Eros and from Ariston, and she is ready to take control of the cluster and just rule the world. We love powerful female villains, and this book gives us two of them. Irada and Megiste make my heart happy. They are my Woman Crush Wednesdays. I will not apologize. I love them. One of my least favorite characters is one of the protagonists, Cal Nichols. He goes by Nickel, or Cal, or the Provocateur. He has a lot of titles through the book. He's fine the first part, and then he just devolves into the cryptic asshole character, oh, I can save lives by talking straight and not talking in riddles or saying, be patient, let me handle it. I can save lives by just being straight with somebody. Sounds less fun. I'm just gonna be cryptic and watch people die. Oopsies. So, for that reason, Cal is one of my least favorite characters. I'm sure he'll be, I can't even say that he's fine, that he'll probably be fine for the rest of the series, because he's just that guy that you're like, ugh, just tell me why. Tell me why. Anyway, I hate characters like that. They're the worst. I hate them. And that is Field of Blood by Eric Wilson. Again, this is the first book in the Jerusalem's Undead trilogy, and I really liked it. despite all of the flaws that I mentioned, despite some strange plot choices, I really enjoyed this book. And so check it out, let me know what you think, and let's talk about it in the comments down below. If you have any books that you feel like I should definitely check out, or if you're wondering if there are any books that I have already checked out, then also let me know down below. I love talking to you guys in the comments. It's one of my favorite things about making these videos. I love interacting. It makes me sparkle inside. My heart is very full. If you haven't already, please do make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video because it makes me feel good inside. Also, go over and check out my Instagram. It is at author Kaili. That is author Kaili. That is me, baby. So make sure to go over and check out my Instagram. I'm trying to be more active on there. Again, finals week totally kicked my trash. I kind of want to die a little bit inside, but I'm here and I'm still talking about vampire goodness. So stick around, talk about it with me. I love this. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Alrighty. Until next time.